High above the city, on a tall stone column, stood the statue of the Happy Prince. He was covered all over with thin leaves of fine gold, which shone in the sunlight. He had 2 bright sapphires for eyes, and a large red ruby glowed on the hilt of his sword. He was very much admired indeed. The mayor and town councillors used to look up at him as they strutted through the square on their way to the town hall. Very impressive, said the mayor. Almost as impressive as I do myself. Almost as impressive as you do yourself, said the town councillors, who always agreed with the mayor, and they strutted on to the town hall. One night, a little swallow flew over the city. Where shall I rest? He said. I'm very tired. Then he saw the statue on the tall column. This is just the place, a fine position with plenty of fresh air. And he settled between the feet of the Happy Prince and prepared to go to sleep. Just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. What a curious thing, he said. There's not a single cloud in the sky, and yet it's raining. This European climate is really dreadful. Then a second drop fell. He looked up and saw that the eyes of the Happy Prince were filled with tears, and tears were running down his golden cheeks. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight that the little swallow was filled with pity. Who are you? He asked. I am the Happy Prince, replied the statue. Oh, you could have fooled me, said the swallow. Why are you crying? When I was alive and had a human heart, said the statue, I did not know what tears were, for I lived in the palace of Sans Souci. My life was filled with pleasures, and my courtiers called me the Happy Prince. My garden was surrounded by a high wall, and I never bothered to find out what lay beyond it. But now that I am dead, they have set me up here so high that I can see all the ugliness and all the misery of my city, and though my heart is made of lead, I cannot help weeping. Lead? Isn't he made of solid gold? Said the swallow to himself, but he was too polite to make any personal remarks out loud. Far away, the statue went on, far away in a little street, there is a broken down house. One of the windows is open, and through it I can see a poor woman seated at a table. In a bed in the corner of the room, her little boy is lying ill. He has a fever and is asking for oranges. His mother has nothing to give him but river water, so he is crying. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, will you take the ruby out of my sword hilt and give it to her? My feet are fastened to this pedestal, and I cannot move. My friends are waiting for me in Egypt, said the swallow. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Won't you stay with me for one night and be my messenger? The boy is so thirsty, and the mother so unhappy. The happy prince looked so sad that the swallow was sorry. Oh, it's very cold here, he said, but I will stay with you for one night and do as you ask. So the swallow picked out the great ruby from the prince's sword and flew away with it in his beak over the shimmering roofs of the town. At last, he came to the poorhouse and looked in. The boy was tossing feverishly on his bed, and the exhausted mother had fallen asleep. In he hopped and laid the great ruby on the table beside the woman's thimble. Then he flew gently round the bed, fanning the boy's forehead with his wings. How cool I feel, said the boy. I must be getting better. And he sank into a peaceful sleep. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince and told him what he had done. It's curious, he said, but I feel quite warm now, although it is so cold. That is because you have done something good, said the prince. And the little swallow began to think, and then he fell asleep. Thinking always made him sleepy. When the moon rose, the swallow flew up to the happy prince. I'm off to the pyramids, he sang. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you not stay with me for one night longer? My friends are waiting for me in Egypt, answered the swallow. They'll be circling the great Sphinx by now. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Far away across the city, I see a young man in a garret. He is trying to finish a play for the director of the theater. But he's too cold to write anymore. There's no fire in the grate, and hunger has made him weak. I will wait with you one night longer, said the swallow, who really had a good heart. Shall I take him another ruby? I haven't another ruby, said the prince. My eyes are all that I have left. They are made of rare sapphires. Pluck out one of them and take it to him. He will sell it to the jeweler and buy firewood and finish his play. Dear prince, said the swallow, I can't do that. And he began to weep. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince. Do as I command you. So the swallow plucked out the prince's eye and flew away to the writer's garret.